What's up guys, today we're going to be making a mutations tier list in Grounded. So I've got a tier list here and I've got every single mutation. Remember, this is my opinion. If you don't like it, you're allowed your own opinion as well. This is just what I think. Before we get started, I'm ranking these mutations purely based off of how useful they are in the game. I'm not too fussed with how difficult they are to unlock. First off, we're going to start with this mutation right here. These are in alphabetical order. So this is Annihilator. I think I'm going to put this mutation in A tier. This is a great mutation if you're killing ants. If you're not killing ants, the mutation's useless. But if you're killing ants, this mutation is a must-have. It increases your attack and your defense against the ants. So you've got to equip it if you're killing any ants in the game. Next, we've got Apex Predator. Right now, this is S tier. For those who don't know, it works with the Mantis Scythe and the Club of the Mother Demon. With the Mantis Scythe, it makes it swing faster. With the Club of the Mother Demon, it inflicts venom damage, and it's probably the best mutation in the game at the moment. But you do have to kill the Mantis to get it, so if you want it, it's a pretty difficult one to get. Next, we have the Assassin mutation. This mutation is used for daggers and the Scythe of Blossoms from the Mantis, and it gives bleed to enemies. I think I'm going to put this one in B, maybe. It's alright. It's not great. Daggers aren't great weapons, to be honest, so I'm going to put it in a B tier. I don't really use daggers too much. Not a huge fan of them. This mutation is good for a little bit of extra damage, but it's not an amazing mutation. Next, we have Barbarian. C tier. It's not quite D, but I don't really use this mutation much. This mutation is good as it increases your damage. You go into a rage state while using clubs, but it reduces the timing on your perfect blocks, so you have to be much more accurate. It's not worth the trade-off for the extra damage, to be honest, so this is a C tier mutation, but it can be good if you're really good at the game. Next, we have Blade Master. This reduces the stamina cost of combos when using swords. I'm gonna be honest, C tier. Not great. A little bit of extra stamina. It doesn't really make too much of a difference, to be honest, so it's not that great of a mutation. Next, we have Buff Lungs. I'm gonna put this in B. Gives you a little bit of an extra in your stamina bar. It's alright, you know, if you've got an extra mutation slot here or there, because you get 5 once you've upgraded, it's worth equipping. Little bit extra stamina so you can run a little bit further or do 1 or 2 extra attacks in your combo. Next, we have Cardio Fan. I'm going to put this in A tier. This is one of my go-to Actually, ooh, no, we'll leave it in A tier. I thought about S tier for a second. It's one of my go-to mutations. It makes it so you recover stamina faster and there's less of a delay between recovering stamina. I definitely would use this if you don't already. It's a great mutation. Next, we have Chopper. I'm going to put this one in A as well. Axes aren't a great weapon, but this gives you more of a chance to stun enemies while using axes. And I really like it. Well, not stun, more of a stagger. But I really like it. It's a great mutation to use, especially if you're using an axe as a weapon. Next, we have Corporate Kickback. This gives you lifesteal when you perfect blocks attacks. I haven't really used this mutation at all. When I did use it, it didn't seem to work. Maybe I was just doing it wrong. I'm going to have to put this one in... I'm going to put it in C tier. I haven't used it too much, so maybe leave a comment down below letting me know if you think it's a really good mutation or not, because I haven't really had a chance to use it. It's one of the newer ones. I don't really know if it's very good or not. Next, we have Coup de Grace. The old Coup de Grace would have been an S tier back when it was a 25% proc rate, but it's all the way down to a 5% chance to proc right now. So I'm going to put it in B tier. It's still a great mutation if you combine it with a Spider Slider and Thor's Pendant for those increased crit chances. It's just not what it once used to be, to be honest, but I still recommend using it. Next, we have Daredevil. I'm going to put this one in D tier. I usually just carry a glider around with me. And this mutation doesn't really matter because, if you didn't know, once your health is maxed out in the game, you can't die no matter how far you fall from, as long as you're on max health while falling. You just can't die. There's only a limited amount of fall damage you can take in Grounded, and you can buff your health so much that you can't die in one fall. So, this mutation basically becomes useless. I just carry a glider around everywhere I go anyway, so I don't see why you'd ever need this mutation. And it's pretty expensive. Doesn't it cost like 3,000 or 4,000 raw science? I think it's 3,000. Not worth it. Next, we have Fresh Defense. I'm going to put this one in S, I think. It's a great mutation. You can use it when you're going for sizzle, so when you're trying to collect charcoal, when you're doing the Cortana lockdowns. You can also use it if you're trying to kill stink bugs and you didn't bring a gas mask. I honestly don't bring gas masks with me anymore. I just equip this mutation and then I go and kill the stink bug, because this is enough to kill a stink bug. It actually reduces damage by that much. It's an amazing mutation. I definitely recommend it, and that's why it's going to go in S tier for me. Next, we have Grassmaster. I'm going to put this in B. You don't use it that often. It's one that gives you energize whenever you chop down some grass. It's alright, not amazing, nothing special, you know? We've got Guard Dog next. This is going to be an A tier mutation. If you're doing a mixer, some sort of base defense, you have to equip this. Gives you extra damage against the enemies. It is a go-to mutation for sure, for sure. It's just not useful in every single situation, but still a very good mutation. Next, we have Javelin here. I'm going to put this in C tier. This reduces enemy defenses randomly when you're hitting them, but I don't really use spears too much. I'm not a huge fan of the spears in the game. The only spear I like is the Rusty Spear, but that's only for killing the water fleas underwater. Other than that, spears are pretty useless, so this is going to have to be a C tier from me. Next, we have Juicy. This mutation reduces your thirst rate in the game. I'm going to put this in a D tier, honestly. I never use this mutation. I just carry a canteen. Especially if you have a charcoal canteen, you can just scoop up water from anywhere, so you never really need to worry about your thirst decreasing at all. Especially with the milk molars, you can pay to have your hunger and thirst decrease at a slower rate. There's not really much use for this. Even in WoW, you don't really need it, to be honest. If you really wanted to decrease your thirst rate slower, I don't know, chuck on some antlion armor, you know? It is what it is. Next, we have Lil Fist. This mutation is going to be A tier. We'll go B tier. This is an amazing mutation if you're doing a fists only build. If you're not using fists only, it's obviously useless. But the way this works is, as you're using your fists over a battle, the damage your fists do increases the longer the battle goes on. It's really good for boss battles or like taking on an entire army of enemies. It's not very good when you're just trying to kill one enemy. But I'll put it in B tier, you know. If you like your fists builds, it's an S tier for a fist build. But in terms of just general grounded gameplay, I don't know, like a B maybe. Mansterious Stranger. Right now, this is a D. I don't know if they've fixed this yet, but this can kill you and your teammates when it summons, and I'm not really a huge fan of it. It doesn't do that much damage. He's kind of just gets in the way. So I'm going to put this in D tier for now. If they fix it, it might move up to a C tier maybe. Not one of my go-tos, though. Next, we have Meat Shield. I'm going to put this in C. You can just upgrade your health with Milk Molars. You don't really need Meat Shield for increased max health. If you want increased max health, drink a smoothie. I don't see the need to have extra max health. I just drink smoothies to recover my health. There's not many things that can kill you in one shot in the game, especially when you've got good armor, even on WoW. Next, we have Mertine. I'll put this in a solid B tier. If I go in the water, I'll use it for a little bit of extra air, swim a little bit faster, but it's nothing crazy good, you know? It's nothing amazing. I'll take it, but it's good early game, swimming around, a little bit of extra oxygen, but nah. It's not amazing. It doesn't reach the heights of S or A. Next, we have Mithridatism. This is an A tier mutation, 100%. This mutation, for those who don't know, reduces poison damage by 25, 50, 75%, depending on what tier you have. But tier 3's Mithridatism is just a go-to. It's good fighting against the Black Widow poison. It's good fighting against Wolf Spider poison. It's good against Orb Weaver Jr. poison. It's good against the Orc Weaver Juniors that no one likes that spawn in at the end of the game. For me, it's an A tier mutation. I usually equip it most of the time, just in case I get attacked by a spider. Next, we have Mom Jeans. This is definitely better than Mansterious Stranger, so I'm going to put it in C tier. It's not a great mutation. Summons a few little spiderlings that can do a little bit of damage and help you out. They're more good for distracting the enemy, if anything, but I don't really use it at all, so it's going to go C tier for me. Next, we have Natural Explorer. I mean, this isn't S tier, right? You can run with the new buff. This used to be like maybe a B or A tier. It's an S tier now. The new buff makes it so you're 50% faster running across the map. You have to have this equipped anywhere you go. It's an amazing mutation. One of the best in the game. Next, we have Parrymaster. I'm going to put this in A tier. This makes it so when you perfect block, you get stamina for doing it. I really like this mutation. It's really good to stop you from running out of stamina while you're fighting enemies. So for that reason, it's going in the A tier. It's also very easy to unlock. You just have to perfect block a few attacks. Next, we have Reliable Friend. For me, this is a B tier. I don't play much multiplayer. I know if you do play multiplayer, this increases your revive rate by 75%. It can be really good in a boss fight if you're playing with your friends, just to revive them so that you don't have to, it picks them up quicker, basically. Makes your life much easier in a boss fight. So I definitely recommend it, but I personally don't really use it much because I play solo. Next, we have Rock Cracker. This has to go, I think, next to Grassmaster, really, doesn't it? B tier. It's all right. It definitely helps for breaking rocks, but I don't really break that many rocks. It also works on clay, if you didn't know. So if you're trying to farm clay, make sure you've got it equipped. It's a good mutation, nothing crazy. Next, we have Sharpshooter. This reduces enemies' speed when you shoot them. It basically grounds them, and then they have to get up and fly again. I don't really like this at all. I'm not really a bow user. So for me, it's a D, but I can see why some people might like it a little bit. It's just a bit annoying for me. I don't really use a bow much, so I don't really see a need to use the mutation. Next, we have Shocking Dismissal. Now, this one is a 15% chance when you parry that it will do a shock attack that does 75 damage and 40 stun, according to the wiki. So, I haven't used it too much because it is a new mutation. I'm going to put it in a B, though. I actually think it sounds really good on paper, and it's a big group of enemies. It would do a lot of damage to all of them, so it could actually be really good for crowd control. So, this is going to be a B tier for me, I think. Next, we have Smasher. This is going to be D tier. It's used for hammers to give them more stun. I don't use hammers as weapons. They're just not good weapons at all in the game. They're way too slow. It's a D tier for me. Next, we have Spicy Safety. I'm going to put this in A. It's really, really good, especially if you're playing on WoW. It'll make you take less damage from some enemies, like roly-polies and Black Ox Beetles. I really, really do like it. The only problem is you don't know which enemies it's good against. The game doesn't tell you, which is a pretty big issue. But I would put it in A tier for sure. Next, we have Trapper Peeper. This, you need to get gold cards, and it will increase your crit damage. I'm going to put this in C. It's not great. Increases your crit damage by a good amount, but with crits not triggering very often, and the amount of gold cards you need to get this thing, it's going to have to go in C tier for me. Next, we have Truffle Tussle. Lil Fist was in B, so I'm putting Truffle Tussle in A. It's a really, really good mutation if you're using your fists. I've done fist builds before. I've done full fist playthroughs before. It's a great mutation for using that. And we got Whittle Wizard. I'm going to put this one in A as well, I think. This basically buffs the staff so their special abilities have more chance of triggering. It's really good for a sour staff. It stuns your enemies a lot more. So yeah, I think that's the end of the tier list. Let me know what you think of this tier list. If you think I made any mistakes, any mutations you would move up or down in the tier list. And I'll see you in the next Grounded video. Let me know what your favorite mutation is in the comments, and have a great rest of your day.